Hi, and welcome to Source Seers. I'm Love.
And I'm Tylynn. We're two Los Angeles-based witches who were brought together by fate with one mission.
To translate wisdom from Source and provide spiritual knowledge for the collective.
We're here to explore psychic stories, pop culture predictions, trauma healing, ancient knowledge, astrology, tarot, and so much more.
Source Seers is here to shine the spotlight on how the mystical realms are interwoven into the very fabric of our everyday lives.
Yeah! Welcome back to another episode of Source Seers.
Yes, I'm Love, and
I'm Tylynn.
And we're joined by special guest JINX.
Love's familiar.
Yes, for those who are watching on the video, she is just on my lap, enjoying, soaking up. She's like looking into the ring light. She's like, what is that? She's soaking up the attention.
She loves to be in the spotlight.
She loves it. She cannot get enough of it.
Does JINX let you know when spirits are around?
I don't know. Like, sometimes she'll be like, what the heck is that? But I know she gets, like, spooked by, like, regular things that she just doesn't know what they are.
I see.
So I don't think she's, like, super into it just yet. Yeah.
So Josh is a medium, so that happens to us quite frequently. And both of our cats, Cowboy and Lux, like, literally just before coming here, Lux was, like, looking around like in the hallway. There's nothing there, and I asked him, like, is there a spirit here that's not wanted? And he's like you know, cats will blink aggressively. He's like, yes. And then Josh is like, okay, let's sage it out.
That's so cute. Yeah, JINX, I don't think she's really done that much, to be honest. My other dog Suki would be like, what the hell is that? And then like she'd just be like staring and then like look at me and then like look over there, and I'm like, oh, okay, there's probably a spirit in here.
Oh my gosh. Oh, listeners of Source Seers, if your familiars, if your pets let you know when weird stuff is happening in the ethereal planes, let us know.
Yeah.
If you have any stories.
It's always fun. Yeah, pretty much every pet has the ability to like help you in the spirit world. Cats more so are associated with that, but dogs can as well. She keeps looking at the ring light. It's so cute.
She's like, what is that?
So cute. She's like, it's so bright in here.
I know, and her beautiful blue eyes.
Okay, so were we going to talk about book stuff?
Yeah, so we're going to definitely give you all the past life tea today.
Yes, we're going to complete the story
from all of the real world stuff happening.
Yeah. We'll revisit the past today, right? So we're gonna
is like just as fucked up.
Oh yeah, Tylynn's past life that we did. Ooh, that was a lot. Yes.
But first, we are bookish people, so we wanted to talk about books.
Yeah.
Because I was telling Love that I recently got into ACOTAR, and then I started Throne of Glass, and Love hadn't read Throne of Glass.
But I read ACOTAR already.
Yes.
Yeah.
But now you're almost done with Throne of Glass.
I'm doing the audiobook on Spotify. Highly recommend. I'm a newly audiobook convertee. So I highly recommend it. It's like you can listen to a book and then you can read a different book.
I do like to listen to like nonfiction books on like I've been listening to Intuition, that's a really good one. And I've also been listening to Secrets of Mary Magdalene through the audio. But if I'm reading a fiction book, I don't know, I just love, and maybe this is like my inner child of like what brought her so much joy was just to sit with her fiction books and just to get lost in a world. So there's something about having like the physical book in your hands and the smell of the book, and
that's usually me. Like I haven't listened to an audiobook before, and then I was like really against it because I'm like, I want to like visualize it for myself, read it for myself. I don't know how much I'll like really like enjoy it, but then I'm like, it's kind of cool because I feel like the content, they talk about a lot about like the content that we intake into our ears, into our body, into our energy, like affects our mood. Some people like who are more energetically sensitive than others, it'll affect them like way more. And then some, if you're not like as tapped into your body, it can still affect you and you might not know. You might just be like, why am I feeling like this? And when I was doing my healing journey, I was really into true crime and I listened to a lot of true crime podcasts. And then I was like, why am I just putting myself through this like anxiety all the time? Yeah,
that would give me so much anxiety.
Yeah, and I didn't realize, but it's a common thing actually. Like if you grew up in a traumatic environment, like sometimes people gravitate towards that kind of stuff because it like recreates like the anxiety or the adrenaline without like needing like a trauma like to happen, because you're listening to like someone else's, you know, like trauma. And so I was like, okay. And then I started curating more what I'm listening to. And I'm like, this actually goes along with that ideology, because it's like, oh, now I'm instead of listening to like some podcast about pop culture, like I'm enriching my imagination even more and like listening to things that like personally, like we've talked about this a little bit on the podcast, like in human design, I'm a 3-5. So like my processing is the 3 line, and that's all about like just doing it. So I'm not like a big like learning through books person. I prefer more to listen to like fantasy and let the imagination like spark stuff for myself. Like I found like I've actually quote unquote learned from like fiction, because it's given me a new perspective or a new idea or a new way to approach something, especially like channeling, like because I do like meditations and things. It's like I prefer to be there than to like listen to someone's like real life and in a biography. Like I've been into certain people like in school, but yeah, so now I'm like, this is cool. Instead of listening to like whatever podcast, I can listen to this book and like learn more, you know.
And be immersed in the world, because something about that series is that it really is a lot of world building. So you're immersed within the world. So yeah, what are you thinking of it so far? What's your vibe?
It's definitely like a slow burn, because I'm like really towards the end. I'm like the last like 20% of the book, and I'm now like, okay, like it's picking up, because I feel like the ACOTAR, like the first book, it picked up like a third of the way in, or like half of the way in. And this one, it's like, it's getting there, but I'm curious to see like how it will pan out and like what else it will build upon, because it is in the same universe as ACOTAR. Well, actually, all 3 of the books are in the same universe.
I thought they were like different worlds, but because we learn about the weird gates, it's like you're able to access, it's like the theory of a multiverse. It's like that's we're here in the earthly realm, but there is another like parallel earthly realm out there in the multiverse, and through the weird gate or the portal, you could access that world.
I think that's how it works, because like I know you were saying that Throne of Glass relates to ACOTAR in some way, shape, or form.
Well, yeah, that's why one of my friends, she was like, please, like, don't read A Court of Silver Flames yet. Like, stop after A Court of Frost and Starlight and just read Throne of Glass and, like, immerse yourself in that world. Because if you go right into A Court of Silver Flames, something will be spoiled for you when you go back to read Throne of Glass.
And I've read all of them already, so I still haven't figured out what the spoiler is. It's probably at the end of the book.
That's what I'm thinking too. Although I am on Hair of Fire right now, and I just read one scene where one of the creatures gives a very similar vibe to what we experience in ACOTAR. So I'm like, is this the same? Energy, the same.
And I'm reading the other series by Sarah Maas, the Crescent City. And I just finished the second book, and literally on the very last page of the second book, one of the characters from ACOTAR gets brought into the Crescent City. Like through the portal-y thingies.
I was told to read the Throne of Glass before going to Crescent City, or read all of
I'm just doing it backwards, just in whatever. What is going on with the video? There we go.
But I also have heard like very mixed things about Crescent City. Like,
pray tell.
Well, I saw one TikTok was like the reading order, and it was the first Crescent City, and then like the last two was like, don't read those. I was like, wait, what's going on with this? And I've seen a few where people just say it's like not as good, and I don't know.
I would say it's not as good. Crescent City is more of like murder mystery in both books so far. I want to read the third one. I like the relationship, like the romantic part between the main characters in Crescent City. The character is also more of like a modern woman type of thing. And she's still like similar to all of the main characters in all three series, like a strong like female fighter figure. So I do like her character. I feel like maybe I resonate more with her character than Feyre. But yeah. I don't know. It was definitely like a weird jump in the beginning because Crescent City is very modern. So they have like phones and college and all these different things. So you're like, wait a minute. I just came from like olden fairy times. Like, what is, do I like this? Yeah. So that was like a weird thing where I'm like, it's too modern. But I do like it. I like the writing is a little more spicy. I feel like the Throne of Glass is very
spicy.
Basic. It is young adult. It is very young adult. It's
not spicy.
Yeah.
Sadly.
So, but we'll see. I mean, I'm just like, at this point, I'm like, if it's audiobook, I already paid for Spotify. Like, it's no skin off my back. It does get
better. Like, Crown of Midnight, like towards the end of Crown of Midnight was when I was like, all right, I'm hooked. But I don't know, like, I feel like you can totally go without reading Assassin's Blade. I feel like we're going to have some book talkers who are like, no, because people, I mean, it's wild to see the debate of when to read Assassin's Blade. Like, so many people are like, read it first because it's the prequel to everything that's happening. But I thought it was kind of boring. I didn't really vibe with it. I didn't really like that it was novellas, like 5 novellas.
Oh, like, okay. That's kind of how The Witcher is. It's like little stories.
I didn't like that. I like the feeling of like you're immersed into this world and it carries through. I don't know. I feel like it was totally unnecessary. And I don't want to tell you to skip it.
Yeah. If it's available, I'll probably read it. It's
Yeah. But the author, Sarah, does say to read it third as her preference.
Oh, okay, so I'll try that.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, Crown of Midnight, it ends so good that it felt for me a little jarring to go back in time. And you're like, I want to know what's next. Yeah, I was like, all right, I want to dive into this new journey we're on now because it ended so good. So it was a little jarring to be like, all right, well, I guess I'll learn like more about her backstory. But it just felt like, this wasn't really like necessary. I don't know. People are going to be like, no, it's totally necessary.
Yeah. That's true.
Book talkers, like they go in. Like I was just in a book talk debate about how Feyre has PTSD from Nesta because Nesta, to me, is a very abusive person. Like
she's just really cold. She's so no empathy. And
I do feel like obviously it is important to understand read the last
book yet. So.
Yes, I do,
I won't spoil anything.
I do know that we get a little bit more insight into her story there. Yeah. So I'm not like, I do know that there is more for me to learn about Nesta's character. Yes. But from what I know so far, like Feyre does have some level of PTSD.
Yeah, I don't think just it's like one of those things where it's like it's multi-level nuance. Like I think she can still have PTSD and we can still find humanity in Nesta.
Exactly.
Like we can have both.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think the three sisters, we just see like how each of them dealt with the situation and each of them deal with it very differently. And so like Nesta's is like, I want to harden and turn away from it. And like, I need to be harder against a world that was hard towards me.
Yes.
And I feel like Feyre's like, I am trying to like move through it and like survive and like remain connected to like parts of myself,
Yes.
Like she's more of like the hero version of it. Yeah. And then like, what is her other sister?
Elaine.
Elaine, like she's kind of like checked out. She like has like a psychotic break. She's like,
Yeah.
I can't deal with this. Like I'm just
so disassociated.
yeah, she's just like, no, I won't even look at this. So like you see like how each person kind of deals with like the trauma from their family.
Yeah. Yeah, and you definitely see how Feyre is seeking the energy of like love and belonging because she doesn't receive that, especially from Elaine, like from Elaine and Nesta, which you'd think that they would want to band together as sisters if like their father is really neglectful and always doing business and their mom is gone, is not with them.
And that's not really spoiling, just to let you
all
know.
Oh yeah, no.
We're trying not to put a bunch of spoilers in here.
But yeah, that like that feeling of love that Feyre is seeking when she finds that in Tamlin, it's really interesting. This part maybe is a little bit of a spoiler. So you can totally skip this if you want to read ACOTAR. But I just feel like as someone, I've experienced like domestic violence and that situation. I feel like a lot of that was from Feyre's thing of like just wanting to have that feeling of belonging, that feeling of a home space. And it is interesting because when she goes to marry him, her internal thought is like, get me out of here, but she's going to walk down the aisle instead. And if Rhysand didn't come and like take her from that situation, and that's sort of what it's like. But we see that energy in Tamlin, that he's going to continue to just throw these tantrums. And,
and she came from a traumatic household, so it's like, whatever, if I can get some little bit of something, like, I guess. And I'll continue to like stay with this. So thank goodness Rhysand, I feel like. But Rhysand also has, I don't know, some weird qualities with like his ability to get into your mind and to like shift your perception. So I don't know how I fully feel about Rhysand, but definitely like him more than Tamlin. What book are you on for that one?
I've pretty much finished everything through A Court of Frost and Starlight.
Okay. So yeah, you're pretty like you know him as a character.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like he tries to be like pretty moral about, at least with Feyre.
With the mind stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I really appreciated when he called out Elaine and Nesta for like not doing anything to take care of the family. I was like, finally, someone said this. Because I'm like, what the? Feyre is the youngest. Like, I am the oldest. I have 5 younger siblings, and I would never talk to them the way that Nesta talks. Yeah. Like, I would never say stuff like that. Like,
but I think they hint that like her mother really brainwashed her because she's the oldest, and really kind of like fucked her up because she like treated her as like, you are an object that will be married off for whatever highest gain that our family can get. Yeah. And like really was like, it's like of that time period where it's like a woman is just worth an amount based off of how many skills they have and their purity and their standing and in their family lineage and stuff like that. So it's like, I could see how she, well, and you'll see a lot more in the last book, but it's like, you can really see how like that messed with her. Because like we're not taking into account like what her life was like before all of that. Yeah. Because she did take the brunt of like all the stuff for being the oldest. Yeah. So she kind of got a lot of that and got a lot of like flack because they weren't really like royalty, you know? Yeah. They were like savvy business people. So it's like, you're still not that good enough, you know?
Yes. Yeah. You still have to work for everything that you have. And it was clearly like taken away from them. Yeah. Just like that.
And you get that a lot like in her book, in the last book, like I think it's the biggest one too. So it's like you get like a lot. I'm so excited of her when I finally can dive into it. Like her love interest character like really pushes her. Like he has to like, it's like he's like chipping away like every every time there's a confrontation or a part in the book, it's
Mm-hmm.
like little tiny chip, little tiny chip. Like she's very, very, very stubborn.
Yeah.
Because she like has shut off from so much.
Yeah.
So like you have to like go through that journey to like understand her more.
But that's a cycle of abuse. Like
Mm-hmm.
abusive people, typically they're abusive because they experienced some level of abuse.
Yeah, they're just returning the cycle. Like, that's what I learned. Okay, or I'm in pain, so I want to hurt someone else.
Yeah.
So that I can feel better, you know? So, yeah, very interesting. But weird tangent that we went on because Tylynn's past lifetime that we were talking about when we were covering past lifetimes is royalty. Like, it's like old-timey royalty, so... I was like, it kind of reminds me of Throne of Glass. And then we started just like, woo. We're like, let's just record this.
I was like attempting to do research to figure out like what king I was. I do feel like, and you can tell me how it felt in the records, but I do feel like it was like 1300s, like around
it felt kind of old.
Time period.
It definitely felt old.
Yeah.
And it felt like you were a king, but a king of many. So like an older time period I feel like would make more sense because there would be like more kingdoms that were separately governed.
Yes.
And less like as you start to get like more into like the imperialism colonization of it all, then it's like you have like the big countries that we see now and not like lots of little like kingdoms.
It definitely felt like it was like somewhere in northern Spain. And you're right, like that energy of it being this is the kingdom whereas now we see it as like the one ruler of the entire nation, whereas in those times it was the royalty over the smaller community. Like they had an area that and I think like your physical appearance in that past life definitely would track for Spain because you were like a little bit lighter skin with like darker hair, darker complexion. Yeah. So that totally like makes sense to me for Spain. And I feel like if I'm remembering correctly, you were wearing like specific colors too. It was a green, emerald green.
So it's like you could maybe track
I'm wearing green right now.
Oh my god. But I feel like you could probably look at like the family crests or seals or things like that to see if they have like green in them. Because I don't think Spain's colors are green. Let me see.
That's a tricky part of doing the research, and I think a lot of that was because
because I was gonna say you wore yellow and red. That's what I was thinking, but maybe I was just psychically picking up the Spain colors.
Well, also,
I set the curve
like
in school.
You don't always wear the colors of your flag, right? It would be like...
Yeah, of course, not every day. But usually royalty would champion the colors more often than not because they're representatives of it, of like the lineage.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I was thinking red and yellow. But yeah, you were wearing... Maybe that was your favorite color, was like green or something.
Yeah. Well, it's the color of one of the colors of my Akashic Records book. It's like a deep emerald green color.
Okay.
But yeah, so I had asked Love about this because I have reoccurring dreams sometimes, and this reoccurring dream, it was happening for quite a while, and I was finally like, I feel like I just need to get some outside support on like why this is coming up in my subconscious, because I know for me this is really, over the next 20 years, it's a really big period for me to deepen my connection with the subconscious. I have Pluto now transiting through my 12th house, and so this dream, I felt I was in a castle.
Same, actually. What the heck?
Yeah.
Damn it. I'm like, that sucks for you. I am not free from this either.
No.
I don't know how I feel about this. Keep going.
Oh, 12th house transit. Yeah. Okay. No, I'm actually really excited about it because I feel like we just had the Aquarius new moon yesterday.
True.
And I was really putting a heavy emphasis on setting the intention for that lunation, mostly because it was also conjunct Persephone and Mercury. And I was sharing how important it is for all of us to set the intention for the deeper desires that we have for the next 20 years. Because Pluto is now transiting through that house or that area of life for the next 20 years. And so I do feel like I will have a transformation in developing more of that like figure of authority, power, energy within the realms of the metaphysical, which is also related to this other project that Love and I are working on, which we'll share more details on soon. But
okay, so it's because your 12th house is Aquarius. It's transiting through my third house. Your third house is Aquarius. So communication. So and thoughts, which is also kind of similar.
Yeah. So yours is like becoming more of a power source within.
Which totally makes sense. Like I made like a friggin' anti-capitalist playlist yesterday and shared it, and I've been posting like videos.
Stickers you're about to go.
Let me out myself so I can get arrested by the police.
No one's gonna arrest you for a little sticker. Come on.
So like this morning, I made a video. I was like, girl, I'm gonna call it out. Like, why is nobody condemning this Nazi, aka Elon Musk? Yes. So I made like a TikTok, and like that's being suppressed by the algorithm. But and here in Southern California, it might not be the same for wherever you're listening. There are so many Tesla cars. Like within the past few years, it has just been, everyone's trying to do their part. Like California had that thing that they were going to get rid of gas powered vehicles by like 2030 or 2050 or something like that. So a lot of people are like, let me just get an electric car, and then everyone's having a Tesla. Now it's like Teslas out here, they're like kind of like if you're into cars, they're like the new Mustang drivers. Like Mustang drivers were notorious for just being like shitty drivers, and now out here they're just out here being shitty. So I was like, why everyone should be like trading in their Tesla? This is a Nazi. We shouldn't be giving him money. We shouldn't be supporting him. So I made these little like papers to put in people's, like, to tuck it under their like windshield. Like, people leave you like business cards, and it says trade it in, don't support or fund a Nazi. And I'm
smart.
Like, nothing honestly with Nazis, it's like nothing is far enough. I feel like if I'm gonna employ like shame and guilt tactics, I actually feel morally correct doing that, because the latter is Nazis. It's like there's nothing.
His whole rhetoric around like, oh, like we shouldn't feel guilty or have shame. It's like, actually, we should know our history.
Yes.
And a part of knowing the history is the grieving, is like the acceptance of what the fuck did my ancestors fucking do? Like, it is like a part of that grieving process. And I feel like completely ignoring it is then separating these young people from reality, which did not happen that long ago.
No, it's literally
like people are still alive.
Still Holocaust survivors alive.
Yes.
And like, I'm Jewish. My family, I think about this often. Like, why did my family leave in the time that they did? And I think the people who, largely most of the European Jews that we see in America more specifically, I think their intuition was just really strong, and they saw the writing on the wall, because we know that in history this took years of creating a sense of normalcy to hate and scapegoat Jewish people. So like during that time, that's when the Jewish ancestors that left were like, wait a minute, like everyone in this town like hates me. Why am I going to be here? I'm going to go somewhere where I won't get like murdered. And so I think like those people that are currently here whose ancestors went through that and like weren't of the group of people who survived like a concentration camp or something, like we have this, I feel like my ancestors are just like in me more lately, and they're like, hey, watch out, look out, like, so I just feel like I need to say something. Like, this just seems blatantly obvious. Like, why is no one saying this? Like,
every single human has a voice, and we learn so much when we hear each other's stories, right? Like,
that's what spirituality is. It's remembering that we're connected to something larger than ourselves. Remembering that we are all here on Earth at the same exact time, going through the same experience of humanity. Yeah. And like, that's the key. We are all human in it together. We should all be treating each other that way. Yeah. Okay, wow. So
I guess we went into real life shit anyways. It's just
it's hard not to.
Prevalent in our hearts right now, because it's I feel a heaviness in my heart.
And I feel that like it's sort of my duty as a practitioner, as a leader, as a space holder, having a platform like this and my social media, all the other things, like I think it is important. I think it's sort of a red flag if a spiritual person isn't talking about this. Yeah. Because in spirituality, they talk all the time. Everything is holistic. Healing is holistic. Your life and your thoughts, like everything is one system that works together. Yet when it comes to outside of yourself, like other people in your community and the world around you, it's not holistic. Like we're not all in it together. We're all interconnected. Yeah. And that's a lot of indigenous ideology that has been systematically erased. Like most of the people that I see speaking out about this first are indigenous people. Like, let's be honest, or people of color. Yeah. The people who had to stick together in their communities to survive. They know, right? Yeah. And so like it's now our time to wake up and to do our part. Everyone has to do our part, whatever that looks like, whatever you're able to do, whatever you can stomach, whatever, even if you have one conversation with someone. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like we did go on a tangent, but it's like, we can't ignore these things. They're all part of our life and they're all intertwined.
And that's exactly why Love and I have this podcast, because we have these conversations together anyway.
Yeah. So, and like in spirituality, the most common thing we get is like, oh, I'm so isolated. I don't have anyone to talk to about this. Or like, you know, so we're like, let's talk about it with you. You're the third person here talking about it with us. Exactly. Yeah. Like this is a very important spiritual, you know, politics spirituality is intertwined in everything, you know, like it matters. Yes. So, yes, it's important.
And I've been thinking a lot about, going back to this past life theme, how in that lifetime, even though it was something that I didn't necessarily like want to do, I did heavily push the agenda of the Catholic Church, and now I'm well in other lifetimes too, but now it's like I'm undoing the because it really is an agenda, like so okay, so let's dive back into that. So I had this reoccurring dream.
Yeah, tell them about the dream first. Yeah.
Because that's what prompted me to ask Love and like receive support on this, because it felt like there was something not clear in my subconscious. But the dream was always the same. Like I felt like I was in this castle. I felt I was someone in a position of power, royalty. I just felt that. I had that deep sense of knowing. But in the dream, I could feel I had way too much wine. So every time I was in the stream, I felt like I was like drunk and like everything felt hazy, but it would happen the same way every time. Back in this castle, back in this like drunken state. And I'm like, I finally got to the point where I was like, I need to just ask someone about
I need assistance.
Yes, like to go into like what is up with this reoccurring dream. So that's when I asked Love. Yeah. Do you want to dive into what you saw in the records?
So we didn't do past life regression like how we did for my past life. I just did like a Akashic Records reading. Yes. So like I was seeing everything and then just like describing it to Tylynn. Yes. And so when I first opened up the Akashic Records, they actually brought me to that dream. Yes. Like to that moment, it was like a party that you were in. And then we started to like, the details started to clarify of like, okay, I felt like you were drunk too. Like you were kind of like stumbling around. Like you weren't, it felt like it was hazy for you because you were like not all there in that scenario.
I had addiction issues in that lifetime. Like I had.
Arguably like makes sense because of like all the stuff that you went through. You're probably like, I'm just going to drink because I want to self-medicate. Yeah. And then we started to see like some really
Here's the tea.
let's see like what are the trigger warnings we should have for this past lifetime?
Oh gosh.
Adultery, maybe perhaps underage sex. I don't know what age you were. like a lot of power dynamics. Like a lot of
sure.
like sexual power dynamics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of just like gruesome, like I had opened my records. It was actually after we taught our how to open the Akashic records. Like I went home and I was like, you know, I want to open my own records. And I went into that life and just like the feeling of holding decapitated heads, like holding the hair, like gruesome. So we should probably have that as a
so some
like
some war violence type stuff. Yeah. So yeah, we saw you like in this party, and like I will say, like please jump in because my memory is like not as vivid as yours is, because when I'm channeling, it's like a little different.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were like, I can't remember, you were making out with someone, right?
So I was in there with my.
It was your gay lover, right? Was it that one or was
no? So it started out, and I was with my
mother-in-law,
my mother and. Well, my stepmother actually.
Stepmother. That's what it was. Stepmother.
My dad's so my own mother had died when I was in a young age.
Mm-hmm.
So he remarried. I think when I was like prepubescent was the feeling. Like I was maybe like 10 or something.
Yeah.
And so it was the woman that he remarried.
Yeah. And remember back then, you're 10. You're like nearly ready to be married. You know, like people get their period when they're like 12, 13. So like it's not child. It's like you're almost coming of age.
Also when you're royalty.
Exactly. It's like more is expected of you. Like by the time you're like 18, you should be married, you know, type of thing. So yeah. You were like having like a hot secret moment with your stepmom. And like if anyone has seen the show Rain, it's like a period piece. The mother kind of reminds me of the mother in that show, the Medici mom. I forgot her name. She's the mother of the king or like the prince in that. And it's I think it's like France and Scotland. It's like Mary Queen of Scots.
Okay.
And King Louis, I think. So yeah, she kind of reminded me of that, like very strong, very like involved in the politics, kind of calling some of the shots. And it was like this weird relationship that the two of you had where like
was weird.
you were like you were getting motherly like comfort from being sexual with her. Like you were seeking that connection of mother that you missed from your mom dying young. And then you were also still like younger, so like still exploring like sexuality and things like that. And like there's definitely like a lot of pieces at play, but it feels like, I don't know if you were like groomed or something, but it definitely felt like, because we started there at that party, and then after we saw that, we like kind of went back, I feel, and we were like starting to break down like what was it like for you early life, what was it like for you as you're getting older, like how does this party like fit into the whole story. And I think that we saw that like she kind of like pushed it, like she was the one who, it wasn't you that was like I'm into you, like I want to have sex with you. It was more like she became really close to you, and like she like created that relation, like made like advances or like made comments or things until like you were kind of like old enough in her mind or in your mind to like have sex with her and stuff like that. So it was definitely like a grooming kind of like confusing like
the way
thing for you.
Love was describing this was like you literally were like, it's like she's hanging on the ceiling. She was like, oh my gosh, she's like hanging on the ceiling. It's like this, I think you had described it like almost like demon like the sex was so good.
The sex, you really liked it. It was like, oh, this person knows what they're doing. You know, like it was definitely like for her, I feel, you know, like you got stuff out of it, but I feel like she was like, it was like her energy was like the dominant energy, like I'm claiming this space, I'm calling the shots, like I'm doing what I want in this, you know, sexual act. So it was definitely like, it wasn't like vanilla. It was
very Kingster.
It was not vanilla.
But I was also bisexual.
Yes.
As a man in this life.
But I feel like you were probably more leaning towards like being gay.
Yeah.
But then,
for
like,
sure.
it's like one of those things that we see. I don't know if it's true, but I watch a lot of period pieces,
Mhm.
and they often have that where it's like royals just want to like sample whatever pleasures are available type of thing. Or maybe it was just more commonplace back in the day that like they got to live more freely in that way and not have as many rules imposed on them.
Yes. Yeah. And the interesting part of that, though, it still is like you are here to maintain a certain image to your people.
Especially with being close with the Catholic Church in that time.
Exactly. So, yeah, I had a male lover who was my current partner, Josh, in this life.
Sick.
And it was sort of like a throuple dynamic in that life with the mom because...
Yeah, I think she knew about him, but then you had to keep him secret. But
then he got to a point where he was like, I want to expose you and so I can be with you. And like,
yes.
And you had even seen that I had commissioned painters to paint some of our sex scenes, which I wonder where they are, like buried under the Vatican. Like,
yeah. Are they in a museum in Spain? That'd be sick.
Like, where are they? But yeah, he had threatened to expose me for being bisexual. And like, this is the part that I was like trying to research, like bisexual Spanish king.
They probably wouldn't have documented
No,
that.
that's what I'm saying. There was no documentation, especially in the era, because
that would have been like a big heresy thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, like if it gets leaked out, like you're done.
Yeah. So so this is the part that when I had first started studying shamanism, I had a experience with Josh, like very early on in our relationship, like when I was still living in Minnesota with him. And I saw it so clearly that he was on this ship, this crusader ship. I saw the flag. I felt like the rocking of the waves. And in that moment, I felt like he had a brotherhood and he was sort of forced into this mission. And that was the message for him, was to find that like feeling of the brotherhood, but also to clear. It felt like a lot of pain in that life, which I imagine like the horrendous things that his soul did in that lifetime. And so that was the part that was so interesting. The remembrance of this very small like memory that I had come through way before even all of this stuff came through. And I was like, oh, I had sent you to be a crusader so that you wouldn't expose me for being bisexual. The other aspect to this lifetime was...
Maybe you were this guy, King Ferdinand. I don't know. That's like the Crusades times, like 1400s.
Yeah. Wait, did you look up bisexual?
No, I just looked up like the Crusades.
Yeah.
And like the King Ferdinand came up for like Spanish Inquisition stuff.
Okay. See, that's the part that it's like so tricky. How do we know what's for certain? Because I also don't feel like I was king for that long. Like I
think you were like a little blip.
Like a tiny little, like, not that long.
Not a very famous king, I don't think.
No, and I was king during a famine, too. So, like, I remember...
People don't remember that, yeah.
Yeah, I remember the feeling of, like, oh my gosh, like, I have to eat so that I stay alive, so that I can maintain my rulership. But, like, all these people in my kingdom are starving. And, like, that feeling of just like weight and heaviness on my heart of like, okay, I have to eat, but then all these people are suffering and I'm supposed to be the king.
Yeah. Because like, so when you were in your adolescence, like before you had to step into like the king, when you were like the prince, like you, you medicated with like alcohol and like other drugs.
I feel like that's why I wasn't king very long.
Yeah.
Probably overdosed. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, yeah, you had your gay lover.
And also the pain of like
sending him away to war, knowing that he
out
would
of
probably
anger,
die. Yeah, because like you had to protect your, rule. Yeah, you did that. Like, you were very, it was like kind of what we see in a lot of period pieces,
Yeah.
like just the very indulgent, like doesn't care, doesn't want to be bothered with like court things and learning and all that, but still having to do it. And I think that your stepmom kind of was also grooming you in the thought of like ruling like through you.
Yeah.
So like
sure.
she definitely like took that kind of stuff seriously.
Which was easy when I was so easily young and also easily influenced, since I was always on some kind of substance, like not fully present.
Yeah, I feel like you were seldom fully present.
Yeah.
And
but I also was a scholar too. Like, I feel like I kind of escaped through like learning and then through like drugs.
Yeah, but not learning the right
alcohol.
Things that like a king is supposed to learn.
Yeah, like I feel like I was really heavy into learning about like the wisdom of the cabal and like all these hidden things that, you know, the majority of the public doesn't have access to because it was in our library.
Yeah. It was definitely like there's a lot of parties, like eyes wide shut kind of parties, like sex parties and like with like sheer curtains and like smoke in the air and all kinds of stuff like that. Yeah. But yeah, you sent your lover. That was like a really like a big piece of the lifetime was like the struggle of like moving through that and deciding to do that and like the effect that I feel like afterwards you were like upset at your mother-in-law because you had to make that decision that wasn't your happiness. It wasn't your first choice. Yeah. And I think then your relationship, if I'm remembering correctly, like kind of crumbled, right?
Yeah. So I was pretty much forced to marry someone else because the Catholic Church was like, you are a king, like you have to have a wife, but I didn't love her. Like it was just for alliance. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which I can't even imagine how many marriages throughout history
100%
were like that.
And if you think about it back then, it's like it's not like how we all live in one house. Like you lived in like a space with like multiple rooms, and back then because of religion it's like you only slept together in the same bed if you were going to have sex, and then otherwise you had your chambers and she had her chambers. Yes. And like if you were actually truly in love, then you would like visit each other's chambers more, but you weren't even supposed to like sleep the whole night in their chamber. You're supposed to go back and be, so it's like it is in a sense like it does sound crazy, but then you're also not having like the same domestic burdens of like being married to someone that you like don't really vibe with. You could go about your life with your ladies in court, you know, or you're taking care of your king stuff, and then just you come together just to have like conjugal visits, basically.
My gosh, whole different.
That's why women, it's like if you can make a baby, you are useful, because literally, like it's like we're literally just married here to create stability and continue the line.
Did I have a kid in that life? I can't remember if we got into that.
I don't even think we got into like the end of your life, really.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think we didn't really cover the end of your life. Yeah. I think it was more like clarity for you around the piece with like
like why is this coming through in my dream?
Yeah, because I think like we ended like after you got married. Yeah. Like we didn't even get to like your whole thing.
Yeah, but I don't think I lived very long in that life. I have a feeling that I
don't think you made it past like 30 or something. Definitely, you know, not. Like, and back then that's like, if you make it to 50, that was like 100 back then.
Yeah, I think I was maybe king for like 3 years or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say like a year or two. Like it doesn't feel like you had a really strong reign. I feel like probably somebody like seized your power and was like, oh, you suck at this, you know, type of thing.
I think I died and that's what happened. Like, all right.
Yeah. Like, and I feel like when you died, it was like your lover was gone. You essentially killed them through sacrifice, and the mother is like, you know, and then like your wife isn't in it for love, so it's like no one's like, I'm so sad, you know, like no one's really mourning you. And you isolated and with your alcohol and your drugs, so
what a wild lifetime.
Yeah, so you had like quiet liaisons with your lover, but the mother-in-law knew about your lover. And
I feel like she was also involved. Like I feel like it really was like this hidden kind of throuple dynamic.
Yes, because I see it though like as very toxic, meaning like I think she was like, I'm open to this, And then, like, she got maybe, like, jealous.
Yeah, because she wanted to be the one, like, in the power, like, doming
Yes.
us. And we're
yeah.
like...
And then you were like, well, I like this
Yeah.
person. And then she
Yeah.
was trying to be like, oh, well, I'm into that too. Like,
Yeah.
let's... And then when she saw, like, how much you two were into each other, it was kind of, like, a jealousy. Like, a rate, like, oh,
sure,
you're taking this... Because not only were you... like in a romantic relationship with her, but more than anything, you represented like access to power for her.
Yes.
And so it was more about that. And that's why it was like so kinky and so crazy, because like she was exercising, which sex and kink is where you, the biggest, what you're doing in any kink is power dynamics. It's power play. That's what the hot thing is like giving your power or taking power or exercising power. And that's what it was for her. Yeah. Especially like, you know, the psychology of like, I'm having sex with the king, like the like most powerful, most important person in this space, the one that's given powers by God, quote unquote, is what they believed. So I think it was definitely like, I feel like she felt robbed having to marry your father, and she felt like she could have done so much more, and she tried to like do that with you, but then you were just like kind of like broken or like beaten down, like you were kind of like, I don't want that, like you avoided. And so like she kind of realized like, oh, like this fool like just wants to like be with his lover, like he doesn't really care about the rest of this stuff, you know. Like I think she thought she was like getting somewhere. Sorry, my lights changed. I think she thought she was like getting somewhere, but then you know, like didn't get to that spot where she thought she would end up. Like, I think she had, like, vision, you know, like, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that. And then it's like, wait a minute, the reality is I'm realizing I'm not as important as I thought I was. Or I'm, you know, like, because I feel like your connection, because she was your first lover in that lifetime.
Definitely.
And before you found Josh in that lifetime, your gay lover, like, it was just you and her. And she was like, I'm teaching you, I'm doing this, I'm doing, like, she felt very in control. And then afterwards, like, when she realized, wait, you like other people, you see other people, it's not just me, like, it starts to, like, crumble. And she realized, like, oh, I'm not your only one.
And that jealousy was definitely, I feel like, potent on her end because of her wanting to be the one in that power position, that dom.
Oh, that's what it was. I was like, telling you, it's like Game of Thrones, like Cersei in Game of Thrones. Like she's like, oh, Baratheon is stupid. I'm the queen. I'm ruling. And it's like, in that time, it's like, that's not who really rules.
Yeah. Whereas like, I feel like my energy, I feel like I'm very much a true switch. Like I love like being the one giving and the one receiving. Like I love that like dynamic in play, and Josh is the same way, like true switch. And I feel like her energy was like, I want to be on the top. I want to be the dom always. And that just wasn't, that vibe wasn't equal, right? Like
like it was cool for you when you were learning, when you were younger and you were developing, because it's like you don't know any better. You're kind of like, oh, like, I'm glad this person knows what they're doing because I won't be able to take control, you know? But then as you start to develop your own autonomy as a sexual being and, like, actually develop a legitimate relationship, like a romantic relationship with your gay lover, you were like, oh, like, I'm not super into her as much as I was. And she sensed that, too.
Yeah.
And, like...
because we were the same age, like, Josh and I in that life. And she was, like... I think maybe at least 20 years older than us. So that age gap was...
definitely significant. Yeah. And I think, too, as she started to age, you were like, you know, like... because you're the most wanted, sexually wanted man in that space, right? So you're like, do I really want that? Like, And I truly feel like you probably... I think that you were, like, truly bisexual, but... But I feel like you would have been happy just having, like, your gay lover and, like, not much else. Like, I feel like you were one of those, like, what they would call them, like, an artist type folk in that time where it's like you just wanted to, like, enjoy life and have fun and dance and party and draw and learn and, like, none of the other pieces that you're expected to do, like, as a king.
Yeah, which is why I was saying that I felt really forced into being the one implementing the Crusades and the Catholic agenda. Like, I didn't really feel like I had a choice in
no,
that.
It was sort of like, what paper do you need me to sign? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll sign it.
Yeah.
What paper? Okay, I'll sign that.
Yeah.
Like, I think the church was like, we want you to do this. Like, they just brought what they wanted you to do. Like, really, that's, I feel, how a lot of ancient stuff was. It's like the religion really wasn't in power, especially in those countries, was in power. And that's who really set the tone for what was okay and what wasn't okay.
Yeah.
And you definitely were like, whatever, I'll sign this, whatever, I'll sign that, whatever, I'll sign this. Like, you tried to be like the least amount involved in that as possible.
Yes. Where in my own practice, like, I do feel like I was very scholarly and I had all of this insight and wisdom into these old documents, and I was able to have a greater worldview than just Christianity. And I felt it was deeply wrong, but I also felt like I don't have a choice in this as the one in power. Yeah.
I feel like it was definitely one of those lifetimes where it's like, I was born in the wrong place at the wrong time. You know, like, oh, I just want to be this, but I'm forced to do that.
But also there are no accidents, and our soul is meant to go on these journeys for a greater, higher reason that we're not always able to comprehend.
Yeah. Yeah, because now you're healing with Josh now, like having literally sent him away to die.
I mean, also, like, we both had to have a lifetime where we were a king or like the person in power, because the first lifetime that I actually had another past life that would come through, but I guess this is the second past life that came to me during my shamanic studies, where I saw myself as a Celtic woman, and the first memory was like seeing this Persian prince teaching me essentially how to read astrology to be continued.
The plot is thickening. We're leaving so many breadcrumbs for you. We're probably gonna have to split this into like 2 episodes.
I'm like, long. I also have like other past lives stuff.
Yeah, we'll do more. We'll keep exploring that. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. We'll speak to you next time, and stay safe out there. Stay true to yourself.
Yes, authenticity is the way. Bye, Sourceers.
Bye. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Sourceers. We can't wait to hear your take on all the magic we talked about.
Follow Sourceers on IG and all other platforms to let us know your thoughts and get involved in our community.
You can also follow Love at Love Sakratoff on all the platforms.
And Tylynn at Tylynn McKenzie, or go to my website, templeradiance.com.
We'd love it if you could leave us a review on Spotify, Google, or Apple Podcasts, and share Sourceers with anyone you feel might benefit from magical community right now. Hail Jupiter!
Thanks for seeing into Source with us!
Bye!